Hello everyone, I am in the air right now, almost up to cruise. The autopilot is doing most of the work with my fancy new upgrade. So I talked about how I got my plane home. Let me talk about kind of what happened after that. So a while back, maybe like in the fall, I started noticing a slow fuel drip or a fuel leak off of my left wing, right here, basically over my shoulder, right up against the fuselage on the left wing, and it was not coming from around the fuel sump. It was just coming out of the tank, basically. And let me turn this volume down just a little bit here so that you can maybe hear me better. And so, since I bought my plane in Florida, the A&P mechanic that did my annual inspection thought that maybe it was just a dry rotted spot on top of the tank, because I did notice that it would only leak if the tanks were all the way full. If they were half full or something, no problem. So it was not a big deal to me, because again, I just wouldn't fill that tank all the way up. I would fill it maybe 3/4 of the way up. I kind of flew with it for a while. I went ahead and purchased a new fuel bladder. So that's actually a rubber bladder inside the metal wing that contains the fuel. And so I purchased a new bladder a while back, but I had to have an A&P mechanic to physically do the work. Obviously, I cannot change that out myself. Anyways, got the upgrades done. When it got back, I found a mechanic that, number one, was timely, and number two, affordable, at Statesville Airport, which is basically the other side of Charlotte from where I'm at. No big deal. So the plane, I basically took my plane over there. I picked up an instructor that is associated with that flight school. We both flew back to Stanley. I got out so I could go home, and he flew my plane back, covered under my insurance, all that good stuff. While they were working on the bladder, they found a ton of other stuff. The key position engravings on my avionics panel, my new panel, did not match up with the actual key positions. Not a big deal.
Altitude.
Not a big deal. You can get a little placard. In fact, let me show you here. You can get a placard like that just goes around the key position switch.
Altitude.
So that's not a big deal. There was just a miscellaneous stuff, some baffling that was loose, some wires that kind of needed to be rerouted and remounted in a better spot around so they weren't interfering with the rest of the engine. The fuel flow, I think, transducer was in kind of a bad spot. What else? They did a nitrogen service on my nose strut. I don't know. I think that was most of the small stuff. The big stuff was I needed a new carburetor. And those are not cheap. A new carburetor is about $5,000. Nobody really gets new ones, though. You get refurbished ones. So that's what I opted for at significantly less cost. It certainly was expensive, but it was a lot less. And the reason I even noted the carburetor issue to them was because if I went full rich with my new throttle cables from the avionics upgrades, if I went full rich, the engine was running rough. And what they found is there's a little stop on the back side of the carburetor where the mixture cable goes to this little stop, and it swings this arm that basically dictates how much gas should mix with the air in the carburetor. There was no stop on there. There's supposed to be a stop where that arm can only go so far and it stops. It was worn down, so that arm was just swinging all the way around. So it was giving it way too much fuel, which is why the engine was running rough. So, new carburetor. There was some miscellaneous other stuff. I can't really think of it all right now, but whatever. Got all that done. Got the plane back because I was in kind of a rush because at the end of June, I needed a biannual flight review. If you're not in the aviation world, every 24 calendar months, you have to have a biannual flight review in order to keep your license current and active and legal. I needed that by the end of June. I took my check ride June 1st of 2023, so by the end of June in 2025, I needed a biannual flight review. You could say that I could just go rent a plane since I didn't have my plane, but I don't have renter's insurance because I have my own plane. So I quit paying for renter's insurance because I don't really rent planes because I have my own. I couldn't just go rent a plane without getting renter's insurance, and I didn't really want to go pay rental rates, to be honest. I wanted my plane back. So my plane got back on like a Wednesday. I did my biannual flight review on that Friday. This would have been like 2 weeks ago. When I went to pre-flight the plane that Friday, my nose strut was not quite sitting metal on metal, not fully collapsed, but very close. I was like, oh, great. You know, so they had just did a no strut service. They had did a nitrogen service on the no strut. And I'm texting back and forth with the mechanic, and these guys are great, by the way. I am very impressed with the guys at Statesville Airport that have done the work on my plane.
Mode.
So we're getting out to cruise altitude here, and the plane's going to level me out and direct to destination. So I noticed the nitrogen stuff. Well, a friend of mine that I've gotten to know pretty good that has a plane at Stanley County Airport, he happened to run into me on the ramp. He's like, hey, what's wrong? I told him. He's like, oh, yeah, I used to have a Cessna. I have nitrogen. You're allowed to do that to pump it up, service yourself as a private pilot. I'll bring my tank, or you can come get my nitrogen tank and try to fill it. Anyways, I tried that. It didn't work. And so I'm texting with the mechanic, and they're like, yeah, you need a no-strut rebuild. I'm like, okay, great. Not super expensive, just another thing, right? So that was Friday. I went ahead and did my biannual flight review. We only did like one landing or something just to be easy on that no-strut, and we did a soft field landing. Again, if you don't know that you land a certain way where you hold the nose off to do a soft field landing, just trying to protect that nose gear since it was not fully pumped up with nitrogen like it should be. So I got my biannual flight review out of the way just in time. I mean, not just in time. It was like June 15th, June 16th, and I'm head to the end of June. But then that Sunday, that same instructor that I flew the plane back with, he came and picked up my plane, took it back to Statesville Airport, and they were going to do the stuff one day, that Monday. But then they found more stuff, right, as it does. My bushings for the little pins that you hook the tow bar to on the front were almost cracked in half. I needed new ones. They had to order those. They also noticed that the fuel flow transducer, when the avionics tech installed it, he either accidentally or just didn't pay attention. I don't know. The fittings were basically stripped and cross-threaded inside that fuel flow transducer, so I needed a new one. That was, I don't know, $400. I mean, right? And it's just, it has been a very expensive year, plus last fall of 2024 for me in aviation, or it's aviation related. And again, it is all my fault. It's my choice. I can't complain too loud, right? I'm very fortunate to have a plane because days like today, I am out here enjoying aviation, flying all over God's Green Golf Course and enjoying myself in my own airplane with nice upgraded avionics. So what I'm doing today is just flying around, but I just wanted to kind of talk again about what happened after the avionics upgrades. My last video, I kind of talked about my stresses and headaches that went with that, and now I'm just kind of talking about what happened afterwards. So I'm going to stop talking now because I feel like I'm rambling. And yeah, hit the like button, subscribe, and take care.